Okay, well, I'm glad that we are back in action. Okay.
I don't know.
Something put together. Like nerds night.
Little guns.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked at a place where you were scared to make mistakes? Where you felt limited by what you could and couldn't do because of harsh feedback or micromanagement? Have you ever been reprimanded by your supervisor in front of your colleagues for something you did and thought to yourself, wow, I'll never do that again? As Simon Sinek puts it, when the leader makes the choice to put safety and the lives of the people inside the organization first, to sacrifice the comforts and the tangible results so that the people feel safe and feel like they belong, remarkable things happen. I'm here today talking to Alysia about just that. As you all know, Alysia is my boss and colleague and the VP of Operations at PCM, and she covers why that intangible result is so remarkable. The whole reason this topic came to light was because I interviewed members of the PCM team, and they all tended to say the same thing in a different way. She makes me feel safe. Alysia will teach you why it's so important for people to feel like they have a safe place to work, that their leader truly cares for them, and that they can mess up because mistakes are ultimately the road to growth. And the ultimate question, how do you handle performance or other issues in a way that doesn't shame your staff? It's a great talk, and I hope you get something out of it. If you'd like us to keep you posted on topics like this, you can enlist with us at our blog. We cover everything credit management, construction liens, and business management, and the content is completely free. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy today's interview.
Okay, let's get started. Okay, let's get started. So question one, what does a culture of no fear really mean?
In my mind, a culture of no fear means that everybody has a sense of open and honest communication. They're not afraid to speak their mind or give an opinion or offer a suggestion. It's an open culture where everybody's sort of accepting of other people's ideas, interests, and ultimately their points of view. So when I think of fear, I think of somebody that's scared and in the corner, is like keeping to themselves, shaking in their boots, something that sounds really stressful. That is what I ultimately am trying to avoid and mitigate here. And what I do, I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing to think about. It sounds scary, but no fear in my mind is just everybody is thriving. They are able to have creativity and speak their mind and really create that collaborative environment that ultimately builds success for teams. Coming into my management role, I always kind of pictured companies and managers being sort of this scary idea where the manager was the one that was sort of in charge. Everybody had to listen to him or her. They were always right, and you could never really question it. It was really that. I don't know why I had such a traditional view on it, but in my mind, that's what companies look like. Maybe it was from the media, maybe it was from things I had seen in past working experiences. I don't know, but ultimately in my mind, it was something where coming into my management role, I was really nervous to find my own view. I just knew that I hated it. I didn't like being dictated to. And I thought, like, if this is what it's like, I'm never going to find a job that I like. So when I started in management with PCM, I really started thinking about, what does this look like? What kind of manager do I want to be? Do I like who I am? If I went home and I was being in charge of somebody, or I was on the receiving end of my messaging, like how would I feel? And I think that reflecting like that really helped to develop my management style. It's a lot of trial and error too, because I mean, I am by no means perfect at the job. Everybody is human and everybody makes mistakes. And I just thought, how would I like to be treated? And so, yeah, I don't know. It's just something that's always evolving, but I think that culturally, and even in the world that we're in, I think things are always evolving. But coming from a more traditional background or more strict corporations, in my past experiences, it always seemed so rigid, and I just really was not into that. It seemed like everything was a little bit more dictated or micromanaged, and that's just not my cup of tea. So the evolution of Alysia's management style is continually ongoing. I want to make sure that I'm learning and growing and adapting to the team we have and to each person, and making sure that I know them so I can understand how to best manage them, because you can't cookie cutter manage people.
And I know you've had experience with people who are scared to come to you with certain things and don't have that open line of communication, maybe due to fear, maybe due to just past experiences at other companies. And what does that really, what does that look like when that happens, and what's the result of that?
I remember we even had one person that used to work for us that actually was super terrified to come to me or to me or their manager. And I was like, what is it that I thought to myself, what am I doing wrong? And I got nervous because I'm like, what am I doing that is making them feel like that? And then ultimately what I really just have learned from that experience and from dealing with other team members is just ask a lot of questions, get to know and understand the person. Maybe you notice something that like they seem like they're holding back. I like to think I'm pretty good at reading people. So if I see that they're like pausing or really slow to respond, I'm like, what are you thinking about? Help me understand what your point of view is, or what's holding you back. You have to be a really great listener to try and figure it out. But I also ask a lot of questions to try and understand their point of view or what potentially that roadblock is. And it's something that can feel awkward because there might be a lot of pauses and quiet times, but it's until you kind of develop that relationship with the other person. I think that all you can do as a leader is to over communicate. What are the values? What are you expecting? What are you're hoping to get from them? So I always ask the team, like, what do you think? How would we do things like this? I want to really get their opinion on things, get their feedback. I always tell them too, like, I know that I am not going to have the best answers in coming to you guys because you're the ones that have the experience or the direct relationships or certain things that we're trying to solve. I could try and solve it, but it probably wouldn't be the best option. So just over communicating and asking, and just really trying to develop those relationships with team members.
And I know, like, I've even worked in places before where, like, if you make a mistake or if you're not performing at a certain level, like, you are exposed by your boss. Like, he'll come to you, and it's in a very like non-safe way. And so I've been in places before where, like, I have been scared to say, like, I messed up, or I didn't make my quota today because of whatever reason, or I've got, a family member at home that's really sick, and it's, I've got this personal stuff going on, and it leaves like this gap in, like, now I feel like I can't, come and get some coaching and the help that I would ultimately need to fix that mistake of whatever it is that I have going on in my life. And then on the flip side, my manager's frustrated because he's like, Danielle's not maybe performing to her standard, and then it creates that gap.
In my mind, it's all about learning about the person. So, for example, for you, if it was something where you weren't meeting your quota or whatever the measurable might be, in my mind, and the way that I always approach it is, you have a proven track record before, or maybe you're in your learning and development phase, which we treat totally separate here as well. But if I know that you are used to performing at a certain level, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. You're allowed to have an off day or even an off month. Like, 1 month is not going to be the be all end all in your employment here with us. But I also want to make sure that you're okay. If I see that things are off or somebody's just not being, let's call it, themselves, I always just like to check in and make sure that everything's okay. I look to the person first to see that they're okay. But ultimately, like, when mistakes are made, and I like to reiterate that with the team, is we're people make mistakes, good, not perfect. Try and get your work done. If there's an issue, come and tell me. Internally, we call them our little fires. If there's a fire, come and get me. Immediately, we will solve it together. And then I'll take the time afterwards to figure out, why did this problem happen? I always look at the system first, because I am a true believer in, is the system supporting, or has it failed you that we have created as a company? And then I look at the person, because that's typically where the system gaps are. Is the system working properly? And if it is, great. If not, that's the first problem, because we're not giving you the tools and support that you need to do your job properly. So I always look at that, and I always look at it as a learning experience. If you're constantly making the same mistake, I look at it as a training gap. And if you're learning and growing from that, amazing. If you're continuing to repeat the problem, maybe that is a different story that has to get dealt with in a little bit different of a way. But I always look at it as a coaching opportunity to figure out how to overcome whatever the challenge is, or learn from the experience. If you can take one learning opportunity away from an experience that might have happened that is not your ideal, that's all I can ask for, is that people are learning and growing.
Yeah. And you go around and you talk to people personally, right? And you like check in and see how they're doing in their personal life. Like, you don't wait for them to come to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine living in a like little world of robots and no emotions. Like, I think even myself, I'm vulnerable to you guys. I'm pretty sure I've cried once because I was so sad. But I just remember I was so sad about something that happened, and I was like crying, and I'm like, guys, you know what? I'm a person too. Like, I don't want to be the big scary boss. Come to me. I get stressed. I ask for help. You guys see it too when I'm like, guys, I need your help. This is what I'm working on, and I would love any sort of input or help that you guys can provide. And I think that that's really what helps build trust and really helps make your manager, let's call it, more human.
Like, even because I am in a like more of a creative role, so I think it's more so like I'm bringing maybe a new idea or something that I've kind of created that's maybe out there and I'm working on, and I come to you with that idea, and your response to that idea, like when I'm like feeling vulnerable, will either like your response, typically it builds trust, and like just the way that you kind of like approach it, even if you maybe see things differently or whatever it is, and then it like gives me this space to feel like I can continue to like be my creative, like out there self, like I can just kind of be me. And so like, but I think that that's kind of like it's kind of like not a science, but it's like an art form of like, how do you deal with, you know, somebody coming to you, like what is that finesse? Like, how do you create that safety barrier? Like when I come to you with something.
Calling it an art, amazing, because I'm not artistic, so at least I have one artistic skill. But I mean, I like to really try and like lead by example. We make sure that we are hiring people based on their skill sets and their strengths. And I mean, if I could do it, I would really try, but I would definitely suck at it. So I hire and make sure that we have people in roles that are going to build to the strengths that the company needs. And I'm going to trust and extend trust to those people immediately. And I'm the type of person like, you're the expert. You try. I don't know. I couldn't do it. Just go for it. I'm not a micromanager. I like to test things and do a lot of trial and error. If it's going to work and totally or not work and totally burn to the ground, like we'll figure it out, but we learn from it. If we can have that as a takeaway, okay, noted, we will never do that again, but we've tried. I'm really a strong believer in, if something is new and we want to try it, give me a little background. What is the reasoning and how did we come up with this idea? What is your logic behind it? And just seeking to understand. And then, I mean, it's one of our company values is empowering. Let the team do it. Just go for it, and we'll give it a try. And if it doesn't work, we'll try again.
Yeah. So okay, what would you say, like if I came to you with a mistake, again, I just said like I totally screwed this up. Maybe I lost a huge client, whatever it might be. Like, what would you specifically say to an employee who comes to you and just says like throws himself under the bus and is like, I messed up? Like, how do you specifically handle that situation? What do you say?
One, I usually have like a little cheering session or clap because you're owning it. Accountability is a massive thing, and people owning it is what we want. We don't want you to like turtle and hide. So one, I appreciate anybody that is open and honest and opening up to a mistake. Two, I like to assess the situation. Okay, how big of a fire is this? What happened? Give me the context. How did we get here? I always go at it and assume positive intent in anything. Like, I know people don't go into situations intentionally trying to make a mistake or have an error or whatever. So I really look at the situation and try and understand what your point of view was on why you made that decision, because maybe it truly was a logical decision and it was just the response that we got from the external party that was a little different. Everything can be solved. It's just a matter of how difficult it might be to fix. And maybe it's something we don't even want to fix. Maybe it was actually an intentional, hey, we lost this client. Maybe it was a good thing. Maybe it wasn't a good fit for us. Who knows? But I always want to look at and understand the situation first. And then I look to the person to figure out, okay, based on that decision that you made, was information lacking? And do we need to train you additionally on it? Or was it a resource that perhaps you didn't have access to that really limited it? So I look at it as the system is broken because there has been some reason that it didn't end up in the result we were looking for. So how do we fix it?
Yeah, so like not looking at the person is broken. We created this system and something's not working. There's not a pattern with the person.
Yeah,
it's a one-time thing.
I need to own it. I'm the systems person. If there's something not working and that has created the issue, that's the root cause. I want to know what was the main catalyst and reason and ultimately the challenge that we were trying to solve, or how did it even get to that point? And then I look at how was it reacted to or responded to. And I know it can be scary. Like, you really have to work with each of your relative team members to give them that confidence and empowerment to make decisions or calls on their own, because if I had to rubber stamp everything, we would get nothing done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
I immediately extend trust to the team, and I trust that they are listening and learning, quiz them along the way, but know that they are ultimately trying to make decisions in the best interest of their position and the business, and we want to make sure we have each other's backs.
Yeah, and then it becomes an opportunity for you guys to work together on something like, hey, how can we make this better? How can I make your job better? Or how can we prevent this from happening next time?
See, and even things like that, like, that's exactly the thing, is I want that to be a coachable moment. And I think things like that help immediately extend trust and help promote that open and honest culture, because next time they're going to know how I'm going to respond. They don't need to be scared, or maybe they're less scared, who knows. But ultimately it's going to help get that information to me or other management or whoever needs to help take charge faster, because they know that I'm not going to get my head chewed off and fingers pointed or called out or whatever. Like, let's just figure it out together, and then we'll assess what it looks like after the fact on whether something was truly done incorrectly and a bad decision was made by the person that was not in the best interest of the company. But that, I don't even remember the last time that has ever happened. Everybody is always doing the best that they possibly can, and it is usually always a systems problem.
Yeah, 100%. And those conversations, you have those privately, but what I love is that you praise people publicly. So we have like public recognition where we have like the trophy and the awards, and even if you don't get an award, there's always like shout outs and horns and like all these things. But then if there's like something happening with the person, like, that's private. And I love that, because
absolutely, it's nobody else's business.
Yeah.
Like, who likes to feel humiliated? So I think what's important is that you have those keep private conversations private, but otherwise, and even when we hire, we specifically ask people, how do you like to be recognized? Because I think it's really important to promote and reinforce what's good. And whether that's something and they're not into public recognition, that's totally fine. I still like to acknowledge them privately, and it's just something that they don't want to feel embarrassed about, even though it is something amazing that they've done. But we have really worked hard on creating a positive culture and vibe. I cannot imagine going to work every day and being scared or worried that somebody's going to get mad at me. Who works well under that pressure? Positive people and positive results.
Okay, talk to me about the ROI of having a culture of safety and no fear.
Well, I think that the ROI isn't necessarily immediate, and it's not something that you are going to see really quickly. It takes a lot of time, but when you step back and reflect on, and even just watching the interactions that your team have, whether it's with each other or with clients, customers, anybody that walks in the door, that is the ROI. You just can see and feel the positive energy. Long term, you truly can see the team synergies and how, as a team, you can achieve different goals or different successes in the way that it is. I also think that you see it in a sense of how decisions are made and different ways that things are happening in the business, whether it's the team working on a project together and there are literally no issues with people getting along. They get together, they make great decisions, they have good banter back and forth. Like those little things, I think ultimately lead to the overall ROI of the entire company. You breed success in the way that you work together as a team. It builds trust, and you just know that you have each other's back. And I don't know that that's something that you can tangibly feel, other than, for example, like our little happy sad face monitor, which truly monitors happy sadness, good day, bad day. But I don't even really see that as like a proper ROI. It's just something that is an intentional decision that influences everybody's decision making and their ability to get their work done and achieve success. If there is an ROI specifically that isn't measurable, somebody please tell me. I would love to know, other than our happy sad face, but I just think that you can feel it.
Boom, mic drop. That was good. Boom. The end.
So if I was able to give one piece of advice to anybody in a management role or in a hiring position or anywhere that you're really the leader and have people looking up to you, is looking for and assuming that there is always positive intent in any of your staff members' actions or responses or anything that they're doing. I think it is really important that you always look at and assume that the person on the other end is trying to do their best and comes to work every day with the best intentions of doing well. I truly believe that people are good and that they want to do the best possible. And so it's something that I think people need to embrace and really focus on the positive rather than being potentially cynical or just really having kind of a chip on their block, like everybody is out to either get them or do bad or they can't do good work. In positive environments, I think that people really shine, and I think that everybody has a lot of good in them and they can do really well when they're encouraged and promoted to do so.